MAW webinars, Critical Thinking in the Classroom. Are you wondering, why teach critical thinking? Sharon Kay says your mind is the most valuable asset. Critical thinking is the only way to take advantage of its ability to lead you to the truth. With so much information available to us nowadays, how can we know what is true and what is false information? So what is critical thinking? True critical thinking is about using good logic. You need to develop the mental habit of checking your own logic, as well as the logic of others. This is what's called critical thinking. Are you a primary teacher? Critical thinking skills are an increasingly important element of primary education, but teaching them can often be a challenge for primary school teachers. We will consider the essentials of this fundamental intellectual skill, from what critical thinking is to how to incorporate it in everyday lessons. Here are 3 examples: asking questions, working in groups, connecting different ideas. We will consider other ways during the webinars. Young children may differ from their parents in terms of aversions. I hate beans, and attractions. I love swimming. But it takes them a while to develop opinions that contradict their parents. This war is wrong. Having independent opinions is the first sign of growing up. Having independent opinions is actually an accomplishment. Having opinions is not enough to be successful in what you're doing. You need to be able to transform your opinion into a position. The difference between an opinion and a position is that a position is supported by argument. Critical thinking is one of the essential 21st century skills. Since the start of this century, schools have been asked to create academic programs and learning experiences that equip students with the most essential and in-demand knowledge, skills, and dispositions they will need to be successful in higher education programs and modern workplaces. As higher education and job requirements become competitive, complex, and technical, students will need skills such as critical thinking to successfully navigate the modern world, excel in challenging careers, and process increasingly complex information. Critical thinking is a term used by educators to describe forms of learning, thought, and analysis that go beyond the memorization and recall of information and facts. In common usage, critical thinking is an umbrella term that may be applied to many different forms of learning acquisition, or to a wide variety of thought processes. Critical thinking occurs when students are analyzing, evaluating, interpreting, or synthesizing information, and applying creative thought to form an argument, solve a problem, or reach a conclusion. So what will you learn on these critical thinking webinars? The aims are as follows: to consider what critical thinking is and is not, to discuss the importance of critical thinking in the primary and secondary classroom, to be able to apply critical thinking skills to teaching and learning. By the end of the webinars, participants should have a basic concept of critical thinking, understanding in general why it is essential to the mastery of content and effective day-to-day problem solving, have a good understanding of issues relating to teaching and learning for the fostering of productive thought in a classroom, have designed a lesson that incorporates critical thinking skills in teaching and learning. Here is an example of a group activity for teachers during the webinar. Preparing a proposition. Start with an explanation of the issue. Next, reconstruct the author's argument. Then select the premise you find most controversial. When you've examined both sides, make a case for your argument. Write an introduction, and then write a conclusion. Teachers of grade 9 to 12 often say they're too busy covering the curriculum to prepare their students for examinations. Universities are nowadays looking for students who not only have the necessary knowledge, which is still essential, but also the ability to put forward their own ideas and argue and debate. Examination questions are no longer only focused on knowledge and facts, but also on their ability to put forward two sides of an argument. If students have developed critical thinking skills at school, they will find this much easier when they take examinations and are interviewed for entry to the most prestigious universities. So, to recap, these two webinars will introduce you to the concept of critical thinking, show you how these skills can be applied from the youngest to the oldest in your school, and enable you to plan and assess lessons which include critical thinking skills. We are expecting a considerable interest in these webinars on critical thinking, and the booking for the autumn term 2022 is now open. I suggest that you book as soon as you can because there is a limit on the numbers we can have on any one webinar. So contact TAP, the Achievers Programme, and arrange with them dates that suit you and the school. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.